it's a blend of the two, really. And that's, in one way, what I'm talking about. Although I believe that energy that's self-organized can be reasoned, can be, described in appropriate mathematics and appropriate physics, which does not make it non-divine in any case. It just shows that there's fundamental mechanics that this energy uses to produce creation that can be described in appropriate physics and mathematics. And so I think that there's a middle ground between those two opposite views, and I wish more people would look for that middle ground. And I think the key is that feedback between the material world and the vacuum structure. I believe that the intelligent design people are thinking about this all-prevailing godlike power, and that the material people, the standard model, is thinking of the material world, and I think it's both.
Tell me a little bit more about your work with this geometric array that you believe is fundamental to creation.
Well, when you study the structure of the vacuum, when you study how the space would self-organize all of our material world, you come to conclude that there must be some fundamental geometric parameter that it's following to self-organize. Like some kind of geometry of that fractal nature must occur, like a fundamental, pattern that nature follows. And then when you look at nature all around you, you find that pattern everywhere, meaning like you look at a flower, you look at a tree, you look at a human being, or all of the natural world, and you see patterns everywhere, and they repeat themselves in very constant mathematical function, meaning like, for instance, you find the phi ratio, 1.618, everywhere, the Fibonacci series everywhere, and so on. So then you must come to conclude that this self-organizing energy has this fundamental geometric pattern. And when you combine that with knowledge that was left by ancient civilization all around the world that seem to point to very specific geometric structure, and advanced physics that seem to show that this, some fundamental geometry at the source of creation, then, it starts to come together. And as I did that, I came to very specific geometries, very specific conclusions about these geometries, and the possibility of understanding this fractal structure and applying it to technology to transform our world.
Let's go to San Diego. Greg, you're up, and you're a first-time caller. Hi, Greg.
Yeah, Nassim he's blowing my mind. I've studied his work. I think he's the next Einstein.
Great.
Thank you.
I want to know about, I know how you compare everything to atoms. And an atom has a structure of a nucleus and then space and then the electrons around it. And then I started to get into the hollow earth theory, and it seems to make sense. What do you think about that?
Oh, good.
And if you do believe in it, does it apply to all the planets, all the celestial bodies in the universe?
Yes, very good question. You know how I was describing the center of hurricanes as the point of stillness, and the center of the hurricane is not only the point of stillness, but it's the point where, there is not so much material. The density is much lower. And so the analogy stands for what you were describing. If this is all correct, if singularity is at the center of everything, if everything is connected in that way, then the vacuum, space is present at the center of all things, and it's present in different scales at different level, meaning that, the singularity at the center of our Earth would have pulled much of the matter around itself, into itself, and, leave a space there. So it is very possible that the center of the Earth has a hollow core, and there is new geological evidence that that's correct. There's many new studies that are showing that there may be an empty space in the middle of our Earth, and it would apply to all the planets and the sun and the galaxies and so on.
Okay, we've got Gary now in San Diego on Coast to Coast. Hey, Gary, thanks for calling.
Hey, I'm glad to talk to you guys. I want to ask about matter, but first I'd like to say that our DNA has been proposed as a length that can be wrapped around the world. If that has ever been proven and attempted, most of us will never know or be able to prove such an event. All of us who are alive right now and expect to see an enlightened world can only achieve such an understanding through telepathy and not through spoken word. Depending on the primitive act of speaking through our mouth and not through our mind is what makes our progress slow. That being said, I would like to know that some people say that matter cannot be created or destroyed. What do you believe in that, and the fact that we aren't born at 150 pounds or so, we're born only at a few pounds? As we grow, matter seems to be created. Doesn't that mean that matter expands?
Well, okay, so in your example, actually that was an earlier question as well from George. I think that, certainly in a human being, we certainly don't start at 150 pounds because that would be a problem for our mothers. But the material world that's accumulating to make a human being is actually being extracted from nutrients in the environment. It's not the atoms are not literally just appearing out of nowhere, meaning like your mother is eating food and there's all sorts of nutrients that are coming in. There's all sorts of atoms. There's all sorts of transformation that are occurring in the molecular structure that is agglomerating. And what's remarkable, this is what I'm addressing, what's remarkable is that it's agglomerating in a very precise, very organized way, which is a thing, it's a problem that's not really addressed in our biology or in our physics. And it keeps doing the same thing very precisely, very accurately for most people in the world, but that's not really matter creation. If you're asking me about matter creation, I would say yes, I believe that matter is constantly being created. It's constantly, the bang is constantly happening at the center of galaxies, at the center of suns, and maybe even at the center of planets, and that might be why planets continuously grow, as I believe. And so, I don't think, and so I believe that, the physics of this continuous creation process is going to free us from the idea that there was just a big bang and it's just in a random way by an incredible amount of luck and what is called in physics mathematical fluctuation, we happen to come together and be so well suited for the experience. And so what I'm saying is that, yes, I believe there is matter creation continuously going on. Our universe is a continuous creation system.
Tell me about the award that you got in Europe for your work on the Schwarzschild proton.
Well, this is a paper that was, that was presented to a scientific community conference in Belgium, at the University of Belgium, and it's in the proceedings of this conference and is currently under peer review and getting ready to be published. And when I went to the conference, there's a certain amount of awards that are given for each fields of physics or other fields of science that are present there at the conference. And my paper won the Best Paper Award for relativistic and quantum theory and field theory and so on. And so it was a great honor for me. I was quite surprised because the paper is quite radical. The paper describes atoms as mini black holes. It describes them in terms of semi-classical physics that would be, Einstein's equations and mechanical equations instead of using quantum theory. and it gets the right answers for the energy of the nuclei and its dynamics and so on, measured values in laboratory. So it gives the right answer